Sir Jim Ratcliffe is set to change the way things are done at Manchester United. Now, in his new era, there will be no manager, but rather a head coach is what he wants. Welcome to the United Hotspot. My name is Webb, and here with all of, or if not most of the Man United news for today. And it's quite interesting. I'll start it off with the latest one, which is Joao Neves, who impressed as he came on as a substitute as his Portugal did beat Sweden by 5 goals to 2. Now, what impressed the most about Joao Neves is not just his singular performances, it was how he teamed up with Bruno in the midfield for Portugal to show something, a glimpse of what Man United supporters would want to see at Old Trafford in a few seasons to come. Of course, on Twitter already, as you know, as we Man United supporters, when we jump onto something, we make it loud. Now, he was already trending, Joao Neves, and trending because of how he partnered with Bruno Fernandez for a few minutes when he came on as a substitute. And people are already saying it is Neves and his future captain. There is a moment where Bruno seemed to be, you know how Bruno is. He's always explaining to his teammates what to do. You know, explaining to Joao Neves something and trying to give him instructions and stuff. The way you've seen him talk to Kobe a few times. Now, he was doing the same thing. And on Twitter, we are rushing as United supporters to clearly make to say, to try to suggest that this is a glimpse of what we are going to see after the next summer, because the feeling is Man United should be going for him. I told you that United had sort of wanted to go for the Brazilian Joao who plays for Wolves, but it seems Man United fans do want to get Joao Neves, but he's pricey. That's the issue. I've told you here before. For me, for a replacement of Casemiro, I think he is my preferred player. He's the one I would go for if it were up to me. He's my preferred number one. But the fact that the money doesn't seem to be there, probably we can zero down on a cheaper option. But the reality is we've got to get a replacement for Casemiro. But anyhow, let's see how that goes. But it was interesting to see. If you watch that game between Portugal and Sweden, I watched bits of it, and surely I think, it all made sense. And the reality is, people are beginning to speculate and link Bruno, of course, trying to lure this boy as well. That's why he's giving him special attention now. You know, Bruno is a leader. With or not with Man United, he's always going to be acting like the Man United captain and trying to recruit, for the club as well if he has to. But there is also a report that suggested, I saw it from some minors, I think Team Talk or something, I forget, or Football 365. It's a minor news source that seems to suggest that apparently Manchester United offered Bruno to Barcelona. The talks we saw Matt Hargreaves and John Mata got to hold with Deco. Apparently, part of what they were suggesting is trying to offer Bruno Fernandez to FC Barcelona. Now, that is just a rumor, but again, rumors always start from somewhere. Of course, with United, there will always be many. Some will make sense, some won't make sense, but you see, the thing is they don't have to. But because this is Man United, of course, things have changed a bit with INEOS now, but the rumors will still always be there. People will start them from either leaked from the dressing room or from somewhere in the club, or people just starting their propaganda to try and sell their own agendas. But the reality is that's a rumor there. But what we can hope on is that Bruno made it clear he wants to start Man United. That's what he said when he was asked recently about his future at the club. Of course, he would want to stand fight. I mean, he was just made captain. You don't just, acquire that honor and you just leave just like that to go to a Barcelona that is also not doing so well itself. They're unsettled and they don't even know which direction they want to take next. So let's wait and see how that goes. Now, going back to the major one I wanted to talk about today, it's how Sir Jim Ratcliffe is changing things around at Man United. Now, I told you before the structure he's pushing for and putting in place. And he seems not to be interested in having a manager at Man United. He feels that the post-Sir Alex Ferguson generations have struggled because they were still trying to maintain the same structure with Sir Alex Ferguson, yet they lack the personnel, or football today lacks the characters and personnel to do what Sir Alex Ferguson was doing. Because Sir Alex Ferguson was nearly a one-man army. He was a manager and he could also juggle the coaching, but we also know that he was not even so much involved in the coaching during training. He was mostly managing and having good assistants who are doing most of the donkey work with the players. Now, INEOS doesn't seem to think this structure works anymore for Manchester United. So what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying to do is to put a team who will do the managing of the club, that's the CEO, with the director of football, with the head of recruitment, and all these guys. Then the manager, then the coach. He wants to have a head coach, not a manager. Eric Ten Hag, if he stays, will then become a head coach, not a manager of the club. So his focus, he wants someone who is going to focus on the football. Now, there should be advantages to that because I've been saying it here time and again that Eric Ten Hag struggled or suffered a lot with the load of the club because it was like the PR, the CEO, the manager, the tactician, everything. It becomes an overload for such a huge club. So Sir Jim does the thinking there analysis of the situation, when they try to look and do a proper SWOT analysis of the situation of Man United, they seem to think that the load of a manager is too much on anyone lately, that none of them has the character of Sir Alex Ferguson or the character of Arsene Wenger back then when he was at Arsenal, the character of those past great managers. And that structure can no longer work. And that's why they're putting together that. And Eric Ten Hag, in his own admission, I think, seem to suggest that because the pressures of coaching a big club are different, that you need to have a certain stoic character. But even for Sir Alex Ferguson, he needed to have built this club. If you built the club, there will be that bit of that big huge respect. But again, football has changed. Probably even Sir Alex Ferguson would struggle on his own at Man United if he stayed up to this time. The game has changed. That's why the managers that are being linked to Manchester United, or the coaches, if I would clear that, the coaches that are being linked to Manchester United are more of the pragmatic type coaches, the likes of the likes of Disabri, Roberto Disabri. He's a coach who you listen to Boateng talking about him. He's the kind of coach who wants to come out there and talk to a player and teach them how he wants to play. He gets involved, runs around with them, instructs them. He reminds me of the former national Uganda Cranes coach Micho Sredojevic. That was his style of coaching. He was not a manager; he was a head coach. Now, coaches like Graham Potter, who was linked with Man United before, these are guys who come and show players how they want them to play. That is their style. Then now we're talking of Gareth Southgate. Probably he has a bit of that because he played the game as well. He's not just a character to manage who is going to sit in the office and let the assistant do the coaching. So that's what we are gathering. That's what INEOS. And I watched an interview where he seemed to suggest that put together a structure around the head coach and let him focus on the football and let him be judged completely on the football. There are advantages to that. There are disadvantages to it probably, but maybe it is the system that works in the game today. Look at Pep Guardiola. Look at Jurgen Klopp, the best managers in football today. Look at Xabi Alonso. The best managers in football today are those managers who seem to involve themselves in the coaching of the game with the players. Coaching tactics is like they're on the pitch, they are training, they are teaching these players. And because Sadim doesn't seem to want to spend money on already finished players who you need just a manager to manage their egos and that's all. No, he wants to discover the next Mbappe, for example. And to do that, you need a manager who is going to focus on teaching Mbappe, that future Mbappe, how to play football. And then if he becomes a star, there is a structure around to manage them. So his approach is a bit different, but I think for me, it's something we might want to try out. It makes sense, to be honest. My name is Webb. This is the United Hotspot. This is a quick update on the status or the situation at Manchester United. I'll catch you again later.